Hi, welcome back to our channel. My name's Kelly.
I'm McCurdy.
This is week 5, I think, of our series on King Henry VIII's wives. If you don't know, we are going to Six the Musical at the end of the week. And so we are doing all the wives leading up to that just so we can get a refresher course. So we know what's going on when we see the musical. This is Cardi's turn. It is Catherine Howard.
Catherine Howard. Sorry, I'm trying to get my Google Doc, but I don't know what's happening.
Also, I got this LaCroix at Menards. If you're in the Midwest, you know what Menards is. It's called Sunshine, and it has sunflowers on the bottle, or the can, and I could not leave it behind without knowing what Sunshine tastes like.
It's actually really good.
It's actually pretty good.
I can't tell you what it is.
It's like citrusy and maybe a little bit floral, but not like a soapy way. I like it. It's pretty good, but yeah, so I could not leave without knowing what Sunshine LaCroix tastes like.
Okay, I think we're good now. What in the fuck? Okay, so Catherine Howard is Henry's 5th wife. She is the second wife to be beheaded. There's only 2, but she's the second one to be beheaded. So, she was born in 1523. She was the daughter of Lord Edmund Howard and Joyce Culpeper.
9 out of 10. This is my bet.
What?
I bet, I don't know betting terms, but 9 out of 10, when I go to find a portrait of her mother, I won't be able to find it.
Probably.
They'll only have a portrait of her father.
Why would they waste time portraiting a woman?
Because the last 2, I've found pictures of the wives, or the husbands, and no picture of the mothers. So, that's just my prediction, and if I'm wrong, I'll put it in there. Higgins!
Alright, so she is born there. She's Henry's 5th wife.
Where? Sorry, I missed that.
She's born of those people, so 1523. Her uncle was a prominent... Hello, Iggy! Her uncle was a prominent politician.
Lay down.
And set her up as part of Anne of Cleves' court.
Higgins, get it together.
And that's kind of towards... I mean, it is tense towards the end of her life, but that's right before she's married to
How old
Henry.
is
she is 17 when they get married, and he is 49.
Ew. Age gap, men, gross. You know, I was gonna wear the blue earrings today and I couldn't find that one.
I could not find the dark blue one. That's why I wore this one. Okay, anyway, so this thing is being a pain in my ass. Okay, so
do it on my phone?
No, because I didn't save it.
Oh.
Okay, so when she was young, she, little side note, she was the first cousin to Anne Boleyn and second cousins to Jane Seymour. She's also the 10th child out of 11 children. She has, 5 half-siblings with her mother's first marriage and 5 full siblings plus herself to make 11.
Did all 11 live to adulthood?
I didn't really see
We
much.
don't care. Okay.
I didn't look too far into that one. So she, despite being part of the nobility or gentry class,
Elite.
they were not well off. Her father was fairly poor. He is a 3rd son.
Was he a gambler? Was he?
Yes, but also he's the 3rd son, so they automatically don't have a lot of money because everything primogeniture goes to the oldest son, and then usually one of them is supposed to go into the church. Usually that's the second son,
And the other one goes into the
and
military.
the other one goes into the military. I don't think he did, but
is it usually the first son is the heir, and then you have the spare, and then everything after that it's religion or war?
a lot of the time, and that's usually just because
They don't have enough money to split it.
amongst everybody.
The estate would be too small to split.
Which is what
Especially
happened in
11
France.
times.
Because in France they don't have that, and so they split everything, and then you end up with teeny tiny.
Yeah. So in England they have primogeniture, like she said. I don't think I'm saying that right, but what else? And then France they didn't have that.
So anyway, and then her dad, he does develop a gambling addiction, and he is threatened with debtor's prison multiple times.
Higgins, could you get a grip?
And then it goes in and out of hiding. He kind of just leaves and then he comes back. And then...
Does he go to the country or does he leave England?
I don't think it says.
Sure.
It just says that he in and out kind of disappears. He also spent a good deal of time, like, begging his family for money. So her early life, not great. Because she was the 10th child, not only the 10th child, but also because she was a girl, and one of the youngest children, so it's hard to really do anything. So she was fairly neglected. She was just kind of left to be on her own. Her mom is busy doing other things, and then her mom dies. Oh, sorry, her mom's not busy doing other things. Her mom is dead.
She's busy. She's busy in the afterlife, living it up.
Her mom dies in 1528, so Catherine is about 5. And then a few years later, in 1531, her family's broken up. Any of the daughters that are old enough to be married off are married off. And then the two youngest children, her and her younger brother, are both sent to be wards of another.
Dennis, could you not do that?
To be wards of a wealthy family member. So this happened a lot, where kind of children would just go and live with somebody else because parents can't afford to live with them. So then some people have wards. So she goes to Agnes Howard, who is her step-grandmother, the Dowager Duchess of Norfolk. Wait, Norfolk?
So she has her stepdad's last name?
I don't know. That's what it said, but now I'm not sure.
It said that the Dowager Duchess was her stepmother.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't know. Some kind of grandmother, some kind of relative. She's kind of a rich old lady just vibing, and she's got all this space. She's got several homes and different estates, and so she has several wards.
Dowager means that they were the duchess, and then their husband died and their son took over and married a new duchess. So she is no longer the duchess. She no longer has that title. She's like...
It's almost like a term for former duchess.
Yeah, almost like a retired duchess.
Yeah.
So now she's the Dowager Duchess, which basically means the mother or mother-in-law of the current duke.
It would almost certainly be the mother of the duke.
Yes. You're right. That's
yes.
correct.
Okay, so...
And the mother-in-law of the duchess.
Of the duchess, but not... Yeah, okay. Okay, so the supervision in the house is quite lax. So Catherine has a lot of her childhood with opportunities to get in trouble. Higgins,
that's not...
a lot of opportunities to get in trouble. So she's 8 when she leaves to... Yeah, she's 8 when she leaves to be a ward. I was doing math in my head. That's why my brain looked so hard. So she is there. And in 1936, this is the language.
1936?
Yep, 1536. She begins a relationship with Henry Maddox.
Oh, yeah.
Which Henry Maddox is one of her music teachers. And so she's 13. And there's not like an exact time frame for his age that I could find. But he's
an adult.
Much older, like 20 or 30. Or 20s into the 30s. So, yes. And then later when they do her interrogations, her adultery interrogations, they do admit or confess to having sexual contact, but not full intercourse. So,
still inappropriate.
Yes. So a short term later, he goes to get married or goes to do something else. I'm not really sure what he does. And then she fell into another relationship with the Dowager Duchess's secretary. His name was Francis something. I have it written down in here, but I'll find it later. So he falls into the relationship with her.
With him?
Yes, with him. And it's thought that they were having full sex, but because they referred to each other as husband and wife.
She was still a teenager at this
point? She was still, their relationship ended in 1939, so she's between 13 and 15. So she's still a child. And it's the the servants would talk about them together, and there was, rumors that he would sneak into her room and all of these things, and they would write to each other and call each other husband and wife, and he would, like, if he had to go somewhere on business, he would leave her thing, like his money, and keep things per her wifely duties that were to, like, keep hold of his things. I don't know.
Also at this time, it is more common. People do get married at that age, 13, 14, 15, but it's not
very common.
It's not super common. It's more common than it is now, obviously. It was a thing, but it wasn't. And a lot of times, like, they would, if they were, like, a prince or a princess, they would get married at, like, 13 or 14. Like, I think Louis and Marie Antoinette maybe were married really young, but they didn't live together or consummate the marriage until they were older.
Yeah.
That's not how it always happened, but it was common, but it didn't happen all of the time, and it wasn't in lower classes.
They didn't have a lot of, like, child brides.
Yeah, it wasn't as prevalent as people seem to think it was.
Yeah, and also, because you weren't even able to get married until you were an adult. So for a woman, that meant she had to have, go through, like, her first period, which they went through their periods much later.
Yeah.
So closer to, like, the 15, 16. Than people do now. So that ends when the Duchess finds out. And he goes off to be married or something. After this, her uncle, the Duke of Norfolk, Myrtle, gets her a place in Anna Cleves' court. So at this time, she's 15, 16. During that time, she catches the attention of Thomas Culpeper and the king. Which, the Culpeper, I guess I didn't dig into it, but I'm curious of, like, if he's closely related to her, because her mother was a Culpeper.
Do we know who Thomas Culpeper is?
He is, kind of, like, he's in the court somewhere. He's kind of like a high up, maybe not super high up. He's in the court.
Okay.
But she catches his eye. He thinks she's beautiful. Her and Culpeper are in a semi-relationship, or they called it, like, a pseudo or quasi-relationship. And they're doing it under the king's house, but they did deny having sex during the investigations that happened right before their deaths. So, but there's also, like, servants and rumors and other things that he is sneaking into the room. There is letters that he wrote to her, or she wrote to him, I'm not sure. There's only, like, 1 or 2 that survive, but, and she later, it's rumored that when she is about to be beheaded, she says something to the lines of, I'm dying a queen, but I would rather have died the wife of Thomas Culpeper, or something like that. So,
so dramatic.
Yes. So her uncle is that prominent kind of, member of the court, politician, whatever. So he sees that she, catches the eye of the king. And this isn't as, like, she doesn't catch the eye of the king like Anne did, Anne Boleyn. She just kind of, he's like, oh yeah. Like,
is he married to Anna Cleves at this point, or is this, like, after they've been divorced?
Sure. So he's still married to Anna Cleves.
For their 6-month stint.
Yes. So they're
He's already scoping out.
Yeah. So her uncle sees this and thinks, this is an opportunity. We can get her to marry the king, or get the king to marry her, and it'll rise us up in the ranks. He's also Catholic, and so he's hoping that having her in kind of close regards to this king, that they'll be able to get Catholicism back into England. So in 1541, she's married off to the king. So when did Anne and him get divorced?
Anne of Cleves, 37?
No, so they got divorced in 41, because she gets married to the king 19 days after they were divorced. So I don't know what month we're in.
She died in 1957. They were divorced. They were married in 1940. So they were divorced in, like, July of 1940.
Yeah, so they get married
1540.
17 days, it has to be 1541. 17 days after him and Anne are no longer.
This says 1540.
That's the wedding date.
Yeah, but they were divorced in July. Married in January, divorced in July.
No. Whatever. They got married 16 days after Anne was no longer the queen.
After they were divorced.
Yes. There's also kind of a lot of parallels between Catherine and Anne Boleyn. And or people draw parallels between them because Catherine Howard is young and she's pretty and she is thought to be like
Promiscuous.
Promiscuous. And these things, having relations with all these different men. And during her short marriage, she still is with Culpeper. Several letters go back and forth.
She's still with Culpeper while she's married to the king?
Yes.
Scandalous.
I know, it's secret. And they, like, later there's people that come out to have been, like, who have known about the relationship and didn't say anything and didn't, like, tell the king, really, like, rat him out. So they're writing levels. During this time, she's also being blackmailed by some of the wards that witnessed her relationship with
the music teacher.
The music teacher and also
The secretary.
The secretary. Yeah. So in November of 1541, Henry receives a letter describing allegations against Catherine, and the love letters were found in her rooms. So 6 days after they found those, because they were married for like a year, so it must have been 1540. So
I'm gonna make a ticker in the corner
of how many
every
times
time we say 1900s. I'm gonna make a tally.
It's gonna happen a lot. So 6 days later, she's interrogated by Thomas Cromwell. After the interrogation, like immediately after, she's put on suicide watch because he's like, she's
okay. Sorry, I was listening, but I wasn't paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so after their divorce,
no, they're still married. They don't get divorced.
So they're married.
They're married. She's still having an affair.
Yes.
The blackmail comes out like, hey, if you don't do what I want you to do, I'm gonna tell your husband.
She's blackmailed and then she's put on suicide watch.
Yes, because she gets Thomas Culpeper or Cromwell goes, does the interrogation, is like, oh shit, like she's
actively seeing this guy.
Well, no. He's like, oh shit, like she might kill herself.
Oh, gotcha.
So, obviously that's not allowed in church, regardless of what church
and
you're in.
she can't. I mean, could you get down, please?
Tennis.
She can't be sleeping with another man because then they wouldn't know if any heir was the king's heir or not.
Well, obviously that's why the king hates her, or like is upset about it. She never. There's one point that she might be pregnant, but she never has any children. There's never any like miscarriages of pregnancies or anything like that. But he's also 50 and in poor health, so
he's probably impotent
at this point, probably, and he's really fat. And anyway, so she gets. She's on suicide watch. She's in imprisoned. All those things. When she's questioned, she confesses to the relationship with the secretary, but said he raped her. Which I don't know. We don't know if that's true or false.
In statutory.
I mean, regardless,
minimum.
she was 13 and he was, or 15, whatever. So then she's found guilty and stripped of her title of queen on November 23rd. So then she's imprisoned throughout the winter. In December, Culpeper and the secretary were both arraigned for high treason because they both had relations with her. And
even though the secretary was before they were married?
Well, Culpeper was still before her. She was married.
But they were still dallying when?
They were killed because they didn't... Okay, so that'll come into play. Just hold your horses. So, they are both executed December 10th of 1541. Culpeper is beheaded, and Derham, which is the secretary, which I just realized I had written his name down, he was hanged, drawn, quartered.
Nice.
I don't know why he got such a... Like, I don't know why he was...
I wonder if it's because he raped her.
Maybe.
So he got a higher sentence.
Yeah. And then their heads were placed on spikes on, they call it like Traitor's Bridge or something like that. Because they had committed treason against the king.
Do you remember in Game of Thrones when Joffrey shows Sansa Ned's head on that bridge?
Oh, yeah.
Kind of like that.
Kind of like that. So many of Catherine's relatives are also imprisoned for concealing the treason.
The Dowager?
I don't know who it just says several of her family members. Sure. In February of 1542, Parliament passes the Royal Assent by Commission Act of 1541. This act made it treason and punishable by death if a queen consort did not disclose her sexual history to the king at least 20 days prior to the marriage. So I think this is like, I think we're getting like a legal reason why she's being killed, because Anne Boleyn was like they had her beheaded, but I don't think it was as, like, I don't think he wants
she was
to be...
charged with incest.
Yeah, and I think that's why. But this, because it's adultery, they're putting it as a higher crime to treason, so then it's more... looks more to be, like, a capital punishment, I guess? I'm not really sure, but they have that law now.
Yeah, well, if you, like, currently, to this day, too.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, because if you think about it, I'm surprised that it's only 20 days, because she could have been knocked up by some other man when they got married, and then had a baby and be like, oh, it's the king's, because they didn't know, because I don't know if this is, like, too early, but in that time period, I think they didn't have, like, a 9 months that you were pregnant. They would think, like, they didn't consider you weren't considered pregnant until you had the quickening, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's when you found out you were pregnant, for sure, is when you could feel the baby moving. So for some people, it was earlier than others. So they didn't have a consistent, I don't know when scientifically they knew that it was 9 months, but they weren't able, I mean, I guess a missed period or something, they would be able to tell if they were pregnant, but.
Yeah, I don't know. This also says that the act is like her to incite someone to commit adultery, so she incited them. So she is found guilty. No formal trial was held. She was still in prison, and they were just like, "Yep, guilty." So then she's taken from her. Okay, so it's rumored that she spent the night before her execution pacing back and forth in her prison cell at the tower and kind of like laying her head on the butchering block. She wanted to be prepared, I guess. So she's taken kicking and screaming from her prison. They take the barge and they're heading down the river to get to... Maybe they're going to the tower? I'm not sure. They go right past the heads of Culpeper and Durham. Yeah. So then she's beheaded February 10th of 1542. Several other people who had helped her, like I had mentioned earlier, were also executed because they conspired against the king. And I think her uncle, the Duke, had written like a letter to the king being like, I don't know, don't kill me. And then I don't think anything happened to him.
It's very hard. A duke is basically just below a prince. Like, dukes are very powerful, so I think it'd be hard to kill a duke without due process.
I mean, she's a queen, but she's a woman.
Yeah.
So Catherine Howard is seen. So that's basically it. She dies. He's on the lookout for another king. Another queen. So there's a lot of, she's known as like the promiscuous, kind of like the slutty queen, because she's been having relations with all of these men, and throughout kind of like the historiography of her, even in this book a little bit, they don't think critically about what happened to her. Mm-hmm. So in more recent years, they've been like, okay, well, we need to look, she's being groomed at a young age. Yeah. All of these things that she's doing are because men have groomed her into that, and because, like, it's not her fault she's acting like this.
Yeah.
And she's not even being, like, she's being taken advantage of. Mm-hmm. She's a neglected child who was abused, who was groomed, and she just doesn't know any better.
Well, if you think about it, her mom died when she was very young.
Yeah.
Her dad was out gallivanting, doing his gambling, and had 11 children to take care of. He probably wasn't around that much. She was probably not, I mean, you even said that she wasn't looked after. Like, no one was watching out for her. She was like a prime
target
for this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in, like, through our lens, it's completely grooming, totally bad behavior. They might have seen it differently back then, but still, like, everything that happened to her was valid.
Yeah, it's still gross.
Not what the king did. He shouldn't have killed her for it. But.
Yeah. In more recent years, they think of her less of, like, a whore and more of, like, a juvenile delinquent. Like, she is only 17 when she gets murdered.
When she dies? Oh my god.
Yeah, when she's executed, she's 17. Or she might be 18. Because she was married at 17, and then it's that next year.
Oh my god.
So, depending on when her birthday month is,
she might put that together.
So, she's incredibly young.
Yeah.
And so she's, like, naive. She thinks she's in love with this other person, and she's been taken advantage of, and...
Did she want to marry the king?
I don't think so. She wanted to be Culpeper's wife. And I think had conditions been different, again, she's manipulated by the men around her, who want something...
Was her dad still around at that time?
No, he's like, I don't think she sees him again.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, there's some people who still think, like, she's a harlot, but, again, in more recent years, where, like, the historians are thinking, like, okay, well, no wonder she's like this. Like, give her a break. She's a child at 13 and was being groomed by an adult man in his 30s and potentially raped. Like, we don't know for sure. And any sexual contact they did have was rape. Even, like, without consent being a thing. Like, she's a child. She's 13 when she has that relationship with him, so.
She can't.
Yeah. Even without laws of consent, she's a baby. Yeah. Like, yeah. So that's pretty much it.
That's wild. I didn't realize this whole time you were talking, like, I know you said that she was 17, but I did not internalize that.
Yeah. Well, even Anne Boleyn was 26. But Catherine is so young.
There's a difference between 26 and 17.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so that's Catherine Howard. She is his 5th wife.
How long were they married? Oh, just over a year?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe like a
year and a half?
Yeah. I think it was like about a year. Because they were married in July and she's killed in February.
Oh, sure.
So not even a year.
But she died in 42.
Okay, I'm going to look
and
it up
was
now
married
because
in
I'm
40.
confused. Yeah. I think that's right. Catherine Howard. July of 1540 to... It says to November of 1540 or 1541. So I think they're counting.
So they were like married, but they split up in November.
Yeah, and she was stripped of her queen,
February.
So it wasn't technically a divorce, but she was no longer queen. So I think they count that as kind of the end of their marriage.
End of the marriage. I would want to know what Henry's thoughts in all of this.
But at this time again, I don't remember if he has like syphilis or anything, but he did have that coma at one point. His demeanor has completely changed. He likely has some kind of cognitive dysfunction. So I think he's just like, at this point, just kind of like a raging lunatic.
Sure. Still trying to find that
perfect wife.
That wife, though. You would think that you would just give up at some point. But
you'd think, but then also, like, I don't know if it's the other women who are, like, angling towards, probably not the women, it's probably other men, but, or if he's just like, well, I can't be.
Maybe he just doesn't, he can't be single.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still technically, I guess Edward isn't dead yet. So he probably still wants a spare.
He need a spare, yeah, in case something happens to Edward.
Which did. He died young.
Yeah.
Which we talked about Edward in his mother's video.
Jane Seymour. A little bit towards the end we talked about.
So we talked a little bit about that.
If you want more details.
Yeah. But that's wild. He died when he was very young.
I think 15.
Yeah. He wasn't king for very long, maybe 5 years or something.
Yeah, I think that was it.
And then, obviously, Mary became king, Lady Jane Grey, and then Mary, and then Elizabeth. So
maybe we'll do a video about kind of all that transition of power, because it's so much, but it's so interesting because everything that happens.
I mean, everybody loves the Tudors. The Tudors is a hot
I mean,
mess.
they literally have podcasts that are just about the Tudors.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's all I have. We are one more to go. Catherine Parr.
She's the last wife. She was married to him until he died.
Yep. All right. Well,
that's all I have. I don't think I have any more
it.
questions. No more questions that I can think of, so I will edit this and this will be out either tonight or tomorrow morning.
And then I'll put it on Spotify probably tomorrow.
Yeah. So it'll be out Wednesday night or Thursday morning.
Also, I'm very sorry for anyone who is listening to these on Spotify because they're in the wrong order, and I didn't realize that until today when I went and listened to them. But they took a long time, so I don't want to go and take them down and then put them back in. So if you're listening to it on Spotify, you might just have to jump around. Or it doesn't really matter. No.
So
all right, that's it.
All right, that's all I have. Till next week, we'll do, like I said, or like she said, Catherine Parr. And then after that, we'll do whatever we want. Yeah. So,
all right, well,
that's all I have.
Like, comment, subscribe. Go to
like and subscribe, comment.
Go to Spotify. Do whatever you want. I don't really care.
Invite your friends. Share it to your friends. Or not. You know, we're just here living life. But All right, bye.
Bye.